Hello, everyone. This is the Revolutionary Think Tank podcast. If this is your first time here, this is a podcast about political commentary, a sprinkling of philosophy, organizing psychology, and revolutionary thinking. My name is 4AS, and this is my co-host, Mr. E. So, Mr. E, how are you going today?
I am very well. 4AS, how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm going pretty good. And look, a lot has happened in politics lately.
Oh
So,
my god. Oh my god.
how wild has it been? Like,
Yeah.
especially on the other side of the globe, it's
Mm,
like everything's been happening,
yeah.
and I guess with all the recent stuff that's been happening, especially with Charlie Kirk,
Yeah.
might be a good time to talk about culture wars and propaganda.
The culture wars. There it is. There it is.
Yeah, because look, he's a very divisive figure, or should I say, was a very divisive figure, and yeah, I'm sure everyone knows it's been plastered all over the news about how he was taken out by well, now we know Tyler Robinson, who was part of the Groypers group, and I'm
Mm.
sure we'll go into all of that
Suspects.
context.
Prime
Of,
suspect.
oh,
4AS.
prime suspect. So they
Prime
actually
suspect.
have. So at this stage, they haven't
I don't
said that
think
he's
they've
a.
they haven't convicted him or anything. So he is the prime
Oh,
suspect.
right.
Innocent until proven guilty kind of stuff. I think is the general liberal ideology that we have in our
Yeah, no.
judicial system. You know.
My apologies. Yes, the prime suspect, if we will, if we're going to be. But yeah, I thought, well, look, he was a very divisive figure. He obviously has said a lot about the Second Amendment.
Yeah, he was a divisive figure. Can we all just recognize that straight off the bat? Okay, this isn't going to be a glory session. I don't want it to be one of those things. There was a really funny thing done by the Chasers War and everything, like years ago when somebody famous died, and they made kind of a joke that like even assholes, are heroes when they die or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
And there's
yeah,
been a lot of
yeah.
people that have come out the woodwork and just been like, oh, he was a champion of free speech. He was an advocate for freedom and like American values and all of this sort of stuff.
Mm,
Look, he was an advocate for things, and he was a champion in the culture wars, the
mm,
identity politics and polarization of American political life. He drove a wedge between the left and the right incredibly, and like profited off the division. So like he was a good businessman, and he was a debate lord. But like, let's not just openly say that he was an advocate for free speech just because he was good at getting people and engaging his opposition and getting them to turn out to talk about things.
yeah, but
I think he was respectful, but that doesn't
mm,
mean that he was an advocate for free speech just because he didn't swear at people and tell people to get stuffed. Like he had them on
yes.
his, he platformed their voice and was
Mm.
like, like I said, he did it in a respectful manner to their face, but he said some incredibly controversial things over his time. And so like, again, I just don't think he's a champion for freedom and freedom of speech exactly in the way that they are like talking about him after his passing.
Yes, but also I think what's important to clarify as well with Charlie Kirk is that he's famous for owning the libs in university campuses, but more specifically, uh, young university students that probably are not as well prepared as his talking points being backed by think tanks and all of that. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like he's famous for going up against fellow expert debaters. He's famous for owning undergrad university students as on campus.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
uh, I would almost put him in the same sense as Ben Shapiro because there's that famous clip where I don't know, he's talking to a show host, and I think he gets a gotcha against him that he thought that a dolphin embryo and another and a human embryo was exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like it was a gotcha moment, but like he looked stupid because of that.
Yeah,
And in
yeah,
the
yeah.
same regards, like Ben Shapiro was having a conversation with Bill Maher, and he was like, "Oh, it was 100% the radical left. It was 100% this." And like in that conversation on the talk show, Bill Maher like completely dissected all of Ben Shapiro's talking points. Like these people are very well known for a very specific demographic, and outside of that, I am skeptical of how good they were at debating, but
Yeah, yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah, and that's why, like, he ran a business. Turning Point USA, they say, was a non-profit organization, but like multi-million-dollar organization. Like he started in 2012 when he was 18 years old. He ran it up the flagpole, went around to university, started to get a little bit of traction, and then was able to attract conservative-minded investors because they saw some promise in spreading the conservative promise through things like Project 2025. He was the champion of the conservative movement, and then he attached himself to Trump and like the Trumpian mission and take over the Republican Party. So he rolled the dice quite well. And then the rest is history. He's become basically a champion of the new Trumpian Republican Party. The Republicans weren't, always behind one supreme leader. They were a strong and diversified organization with factions, and Trump has kind of taken over. And I think, Kirk was instrumental in that takeover. And, people say that he should get a lot of credit for getting Trump elected because Trump was elected by a large number of young persons. And that is Kirk's wheelhouse. And he controls that. But he controlled that through owning the libs. That's what he was doing. Like, we saw the footage on the day that he got shot, like literally 5 minutes before he got shot. And like, he gets on stage and he's just like, "Utah, are you ready?" And there's like hundreds of thousands of people in this audience. And it's like he's just walked into his Maximus in Gladiator, and he's just walked into the Roman Colosseum. And like, they are, the crowd is bloodthirsty. They are so frothing when he starts talking, and he's like, "Utah, give me your best libs." And the crowd goes nuts. They're like, you can see them foaming at the mouth and stuff like that. It's an arena, and it's a blood sport arena. Like, they want to see people get torn to shreds in the marketplace of ideas. And so like, I just want to highlight to everyone, like, that was his shtick. That was his business model. Don't think that this is some classical Cambridge debate house where teams take their turns and get up with their palm cards. Like, his methodology was to own the libs.
Yes.
And when he does, clip that and make it go viral on TikTok. And you don't see much of the stuff of where it's a good debate and they go back and forth and there's no one really a winner. And you don't see the stuff where people like kind of catch him out. You never see that stuff. They just capture the good moments and spread that around. And that made him out to be like this extreme champion of debate. Yes. Like, he was the most skilled debater out there. And like, generally, because you just see him winning time and time again, if you watched enough of his stuff, you start to think that like, maybe he's right all the time. He's right about everything because they just flood the zone. This is a very conservative trick. Listen to someone like Steve Bannon. They flood the zone with Kirk smashing libs. And like, you even start to think that like, maybe he's just right about it all. If you watch enough of that stuff, it's really like a psyop almost for it.
Yeah. What's the saying? If you hear something again and again and again, you start to believe that it's true.
Yeah. And I think that was the tactic. Yeah. I think that was the tactic. And social media is perfect for that. Social media is perfect for that type of stuff.
But I think, again, Kirk was from the ilk of Ben Shapiro. And I know that Ben Shapiro, his huge thing, especially in being a debate lord, was And this is something that I got from Ben Burgess from, Give Him an Argument,
Yeah.
is that his huge thing was you purposely go in there with quick jabbed arguments and send your opponent off kilter or at least on the back foot, and then you win the debate by quickly overwhelming them.
Yeah.
Because I guess in that style of argument or that style of debate, you're not actually discussing the philosophy of ideas. You're just looking for quick gotchas and
Yes.
and that sort of thing. Look, I would say that I'm a competent philosophy major. Let's just go over one of the clips that you showed when Charlie Kirk was comparing gun deaths to car fatalities, and he
So that was part of that really seminal speech that he gave in 2023, where he is justifying gun deaths or deaths attributed to guns because of the Second Amendment.
Yeah, and he talks about, hey, gun deaths exist and also car fatalities exist, and it's almost impossible to get car fatalities down to zero, and that's the consequences of these technologies, and we're not going to take them.
And it's 50,000. 50,000, I think he said, right?
Yeah, he did, and he was like, well, it's impossible for you to get that to zero, and we're not going to take that technology away from people, so that's just the price you pay. He basically used that to go to his quote. I think I've got it here. Yes. It's worth to have the cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational. And in that comparison, I guess where I kind of tore it apart is that he kind of conflated the idea of, the purpose of guns with the purpose of cars.
Yeah.
And it's well, that's apples and oranges. Cars aren't made to run people over. Guns are made to shoot people. Like I said in my comment, you don't tickle people with guns. You have a target and you shoot it. That's the whole point of that.
Yes.
And
100%. Yeah.
And I would just say that I'm a competent philosopher, and just in the space of 5 minutes, when I just sat there and thought about his argument, I'm like, actually, that makes zero sense. But then again, if I was in front of him, if I tried to assert something like that, he might just talk over me, or
that's right.
Something else would happen, and then I probably wouldn't have gotten those talking points out there, and then people would be like, oh, well, he's owned another lib, when really there was not a proper discussion of the ideas.
That's right. Yeah, I don't think he's ever not ever, but I don't think majority of the time he argues in good faith in order to settle the discussion as such. It's more about like you said, it's more about winning the argument or winning the point, getting to the next kind of jumping from peak to peak, so you can destroy someone's ability to respond, as opposed to destroy their ideas in the marketplace of ideas and all that sort of stuff that they usually talk about. But I think the most shocking thing that came out of that, again, this is that 2023 kind of clip that's about him talking about gun violence. And the biggest quote there is, yes, he said, this is the price, gun deaths every year is the price, and it's a worthy price to pay to have the right to bear arms. This is the price that we pay. And, this whole situation, all you can say is there are some incredible ironies in this entire situation. Yes. He was an advocate for guns, and he said gun death is just the price that we pay for living in this country, basically, and having these types of civil rights. And so, he said that openly. And so you have to ask the question, if people want to know what would Charlie Kirk's thoughts have been on his own assassination, then you just can quote him verbatim. He would have thought, hey, this is the price that we pay to be American.
Yes,
And it's a crazy thing to fathom, right? Like, how hardcore do you have to be to follow your convictions and your principles? And like, if you think that he was truly a man of his principles and convictions, then
mm,
he's probably okay with this. What happened here?
yes, I feel like we're kind of segueing to Groypers as well as the kind
Yeah,
of
we're gonna get to
the
Tyler Robinson. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and also we're kind of edging our way as well to the kind of martyr complex that's surrounded Charlie Kirk after all of this. But
Yes,
before we
yes,
do, I
yeah,
thought maybe we should do a definition of what the culture wars is. So
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah. Okay.
asked our research assistant, and she said the culture wars refer to the ongoing conflict between groups with differing values, beliefs, and ideologies, especially around social, moral, and political issues such as race, gender, religion, education, sexuality, and national identity. These battles often play out in media, politics, and public discourse, reflecting deeper divisions in society over what kind of culture should prevail. The key characteristics are polarization, symbolic issues such as debate over flags, statues, pronouns, school curricula, and entertainment, identity politics, media amplification, so social media and cable news intensify and spread these conflicts, and political strategy used by politicians and commentators to mobilize support or distract from policy. So, yeah, I would say interesting definition.
Pretty robust. It's pretty all encompassing. How about that? It doesn't tell
Yeah,
you
yeah.
exactly what it is, but it tells you what it covers. It covers a lot of shit. Far out. Far yes.
But like, yeah, like I guess what the point is that the culture wars are deliberately meant to divide people. Like
Yes.
that is its point.
Yeah.
It's supposed to put everyone into a box of how you view certain things,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, it's as it said in the very first point of its key characteristics, it's polarization,
Yes.
one
Yes.
hundred percent.
And that's why he was a champion of the culture wars. Like, he wasn't igniting, freedom of speech and freedom of expression so he could like bridge the gaps between people. He was literally making the gaps between people wider and wider by owning people for entertainment for others so he could draw and solidify his audience. And so that would have radicalized people on the other side of him that would have been owned by him, that would have incentivized them to go out and like be even more staunch in their own opinions, I believe, for the most part. Like, some people might have been like, oh my God, Charlie's right, and then like change their ways or something like that. But like, a lot of people just would have doubled down on their own views. It's not like it's not a discussion as such. It was just about, crushing your opponent. But like, I want to just pull on one irony of his culture war situation. The last topic he spoke about was gun violence and
It
gun
was.
control. And that is a massive element of the culture wars, which is like, there are some very, very heinous problems in American society because of the fact that they have the right to bear arms, and people interpret that constitutional amendment in a way that suits their culture. So their
Yeah.
way of interpreting and viewing the world. And so the conservatives think that that is a God-given right and a freedom issue. And so you shouldn't have any restrictions. And this is just a generalization. And like, liberals would say that, to be able to live in a free society, you need to actually regulate what people do to a certain extent so that you don't encroach on other people's rights. And so like, there needs to be some level of control in order to do that. I don't think all liberals are like all out, get rid of guns altogether. But like, they want some type of regulation around this, way more than what the Americans have at the moment. And so he was speaking to a dude who was debating him on gun control. But specifically, there was a school shooting like 2 weeks ago in Minnesota where the gunman was a trans person, And so, like, Kirk's reaction as a champion of the culture wars was to be like, that's it, Ben. Like, no trans people should be allowed to have guns, which is like,
That's a bit hypocritical.
it's rich, right? Because their argument is
Yeah,
always against gun control. Sorry, yeah, against gun control and like
yeah.
being as, you know, open with everybody's right to bear arms as possible. But like, no, trans people are obviously, screwed in the head, and so they shouldn't have guns and all this sort of stuff. And so his reaction was obviously that. And so this person was debating him, and the questioning was like, okay, how many school shootings had there been, et cetera, et cetera? How many done by trans people? And Kirk, like, smart-assly, and this is where you can see, like, I don't think he really debates in good faith all the time. This person was like, how many trans people have been involved in mass shootings? And like, Kirk was like, oh, too many. And like, out of the, hundreds that there have been this year alone, let me just add, but at the hundreds that there have been in the last 10 years, maybe even thousands in the last 10 years, like 4 of them have been trans people. And so like, this person was like pressing him on that issue. And they started talking about like, how many mass shootings have there been altogether? And Kirk was like, and how, like, including or excluding gun violence, because there is a difference there. Because
Right.
gang violence, sorry.
Right.
And because there's a difference, because like, gangs could just shoot up multiple people at once in a drive-by, but that's just gang related violence, as opposed to like it being political or something like that, or a maniac shooting up like school children. So like, the Americans, like, it's that prevalent that they actually split it up into different categories. And so Kirk, again, as a smartass, was kind of like, well, do you count gang violence or not? Like, kind of thing, like, in response. And then bang, he gets shot. Right in the middle of a discussion about gun control and about whether you should include gang violence in that or not. And bang, he
Yes.
gets shot in the neck. The irony is just, it's crazy, the stuff that's going on with this situation.
Yes. And like, look, I can.
And that's the culture wars, can I just add? It's full of like
Yes.
contradictions and ironies.
Yes, and like, look, I can only speak from the Australian's perspective since we are Aussies, and I just got to go back to the Jim Jeffries stand-up routine about guns, where obviously he's being a smartass himself, where it's like, look, there's only one objective reason for the gun, like, being an advocate for no regulation with gun control, and that is, it's because I like guns. And that's it.
Yeah.
Like obviously he was being a smartass there, but later in the stand-up, he's like, look, in Australia, we had our own gun incidents back in the 90s, in 1996, with Martin Bryant, and one of our most conservative prime ministers turned around and said, "That's it, no more guns." And then Australians were like, "Yeah, right, that makes sense."
Yeah.
And like, look, I'm as an aside, I'm sure there's been gang related violence, but you don't have kids or like I guess adults shooting up schools here in Australia, because like, it's not part of the culture.
Yes.
So like, I'm sure there's pockets of gun culture, say in far north Queensland, and look, I'm stereotyping, but like, I'm sure there's pockets, but at least
good stereotyping. I like that.
I'm probably stereotyping, but like, look, I'm sure there's pockets, but like, it's not part of our culture, and with a click of a fingers, everything was gone, and then Jim Jeffries then goes, oh, when the government talks about, putting people on a register, don't take away my guns.
Yeah.
And again, I'm sure that's tied to the Second Amendment. And sure, if you make something right, people are going to hold you to that. But yeah, it's just, we did a quick thing of regulation after the Martin Bryant massacres, and suddenly it wasn't a problem anymore. It's just, I don't understand the normalization that school shootings should be a thing.
Yeah.
I just don't understand it.
Yeah. And like it manifests in some crazy responses and reactions. Like remember that we spent a bit of time in a live stream looking at responses to school shootings, and as opposed to responding by gun control, the response was there's this organization called Campus Guardian Angel, and
Oh,
their job is to make drones that have guns on them, and they can be deployed. Like they there's like a chest. It's like a war chest. Think of it like, right? There's a
okay.
chest that they put in in the library or something like that, or they place it around the campus, around the school. And if like a gunman comes into the school, you pay like you would have a security system, and like they'd send security guards in or something. But like if a gunman comes into the school, like the chest opens up and these drones fly out, and there's people inside the command center at Campus Guardian Angel, and they fly these drones around the school and like take out the shooter. Like that's their response to the, and like what a business, what a market. And like you could only have a market like that, to be honest, in a place like America that has like where school shootings are basically so prolific. They happen on a yearly basis, like multiple times a year, that schools will start investing in something like Campus Guardian Angel, which is, yeah, like I said, you can look it up, Google it.
Wow.
Whoever's listening to this right now, go and Google this organization, watch their video. And it's like they've staged like these events, and like you see this like guy in the corner of a classroom waving his gun around kind of thing. And like the drones just fly in through the door and then like shoot this guy and take him out kind of thing. And like this is their response to things, as opposed to like saying no more guns, like kind of thing. That's their response. But like as you said, like it's part of the culture. So this is a
Yeah.
element of the culture wars. And so like I just want to like bring it to kind of what you were going to talk about before I hijacked it by talking about another irony. Like as part of the culture war and a part of the polarization of American politics, there is a lot of conversation going on about like this Trump 2.0 and the kind of the end of the final solution as the Trumpian campaign or the Trumpian project sees it. And it's like kind of, there's been a lot of people pointing at like what's happening in America under Trump and all that sort of stuff and like calling it out as being fascist. I think a lot of it has been like kind of just butthurt liberals and people that don't know what fascism is, but like want to be impactful. So they call everything fascism and call everyone fascists. I think there's a lot of that goes on. But like, I do think that like now they're getting closer and closer to that type of fascistic tendency in America at the moment. Like Trump is rounding up what he considers to be undesirables in America, and like so like illegals basically, and throwing them into concentration camps. And
Oh,
like
yeah,
there is
like all the
no,
ice raids.
yeah,
Yeah.
all the ice raids.
Yeah.
Like this is like there's no due process. Like throw them up. They've changed laws to like literally not allow them to have bonds and stuff like that or get out on bail. And so like they could be rounding up potentially millions of people and throwing them in camps, and they could be in there for years. And what do you think they're going to do with these people in camps? They're just going to let them just sit around all day. They'll probably get them to do some labor and stuff like that. That's what's coming. Like he's already threatening countries in his backyard. So in the Caribbean, he threatened Venezuela. He's threatening Mexico. So they're looking to make sure they're shoring up their own like strategic and regional interests. Like the way that they treat the media is very, very, you know, very, very authoritarian, at least about like what they think is fake news, what they accept and what they don't, and the way that they control the conversation, the way that he's marching troops into cities all around America, like anyone that's potentially going to threaten his power. Like they're marching like into New York, into Washington, into Chicago, into Boston. They've already done it in LA. Like these places where people would rise up and potentially fight against any type of control. He's moving, literally walking troops into, like America. Like this is happening. And like the thing with Charlie Kirk, as you have described, is he was a hardcore Christian in terms of like his culture war angle on Christianity. I think he used Christianity as like a weapon to rally people that have nationalistic tendency and nationalistic pride to the cause, because like the American nation is like a nation under God. And so like being Christian is part of that culture war issue, because it's the godless liberals and progressives that are trying to screw up the American project, the American dream, like degrade the family, degrade the American way of life and American values altogether. They basically helped destroy white America. And so like, you know, Christian nationalism is the angle for fascism in America. There was this person that wrote like 100 years ago about fascism, because it was on the rise at this time 100 years ago, before World War II. And this person, who was a political commentator and political scientist at the time, was like, if fascism ever comes to America, or if Nazism ever comes to America, it will be wrapped in an American flag and holding a crucifix. It'll be holding the cross and the Bible. And so like the American brand of fascism will be Christian nationalism. And so that's been the story since Kirk's death. It has been Christianized martyrdom.
Well, yes, because like that's where a lot of the rhetoric has come out, where they hadn't even confirmed, or at least gotten to the point where they had apprehended Tyler.
They hadn't apprehended no one at that point.
I know.
Nothing.
And Trump came out and he was like, "Oh, it was 100% the radical left. Hey, we're gonna put the every single flag at half-mast for Charlie Kirk, and and posthumously we're going to give him the highest civilian honor."
Yes, the freedom, the presidential freedom medal. He was posthumously awarded as a result of the incident. So he's been martyred, and like martyrs are really important, because remember, martyrs, because they have been the subject to political violence, can therefore be the justification for any political violence to come. And the rhetoric is quite clear, as you said, for IS.
Yeah.
Like Trump, within hours of Kirk dying, was just like on to a presidential address of the nation, and was just like, it was the radical left. They've done this. These lunatics are lawless. They're attacking ICE agents. They're making the streets unsafe. And I am personally going to clean this up. I'm going to take care of the radical left. And like that has been everything that's come out of the right wing, like in terms of these talking points of like martyrdom and kind of Christian nationalism. It's just like, it is us versus them. This is a war, and you win or you die. That is their rhetoric.
Yes. Yeah, it's so us and them, because I think so there's some parts of the left that have turned around and been like, well, you know, he died, and he died for what he believed in. You know, he became a statistic of his own statements. But unfortunately, that kind of feeds into this kind of Christian martyrdom thing, like a complex that people have created around Charlie Kirk, that, you know, he was a champion of free speech, and that you know, oh, it was our opponents that, you know, that killed him, and, you know, we must do everything to protect our culture and protect everything about us. Like, and plus we're probably talking about people that believe in the Great Replacement theory and all of that. Like, look up that if you haven't before, because that's some crazy shit.
Yeah.
But that kind of leads us to the reality of the situation, is that even though we have all this rhetoric and propaganda about that it was our opponents, it was the left, it was trans and Antifa ideology, that this brings us to the Groypers situation, because the reason why Charlie Kirk was killed was, you know, if our prime suspect here is 100% the person that killed him, then the reason why Trump came out with that address and that he was saying that it was the radical left is the bullets were engraved with all of these things, like, what was it? Ciao Bella, which was apparently not only like a gaming reference, but it's based on a famous anti-fascist like song back from, you know, the World War II. What was it? if you read this, you're gay.
Yeah, so
And
like, see, this is the thing, right? When it first
yeah,
came out, there was not even an article, but a source from the Wall Street Journal had said that they had seen pictures of the ammunition. So when Tyler Robinson supposedly took the shot, he was on a roof about 180 meters away from Charlie Kirk, and took the shot on the roof and then ran to the back side of the same building, jumped off the roof, traversed the campus, but like dumped the murder weapon and the ammunition in a bush and potentially coming back to claim it later. But they found the gun and the ammo, and on it was inscribed with something. Now, the Wall Street Journal said that they had like a source that had seen this ammunition, and what they saw on it was like 3 arrows. And like, if you know anything about Antifa symbology, there's one of their flags, one of their symbols is 3 downwards arrows. And so like they were like, oh, there's 3 arrows on it. It's definitely Antifa. And then they just made a wild claim about it being covered in in markings of trans ideology, whatever that means anyway.
yeah.
Right. And so like that was it. Like the right wing, when we were watching it that day, they were going nuts, like on Sky News, and they're just like, oh, it's a trans Antifa kind of thing. That's it. The world's over. You know, you thought trans was bad. You thought Antifa was bad, like being anti-fascist, like hating fascists was bad. Wait until you've met trans Antifa kind of thing. And so like, you know, we were having a good laugh, or well, like, you know, wow, this is it. They're going to go and run away with this. But it actually turns out that the engravings on the ammunition and the bullet cartridge of the bullet that did it was actually nothing to do with what they were reporting on. What the problem was is this was all talking about culture. This was all meme culture inscribed by a 22-year-old all over these bullets and these cartridges. And so like the media, the investigators, they had no idea what they were reading, because like you have to be in like the darkest corners of some subreddit or some Discord community and part of some niche gaming culture to be able to understand what these guys are talking about. And it was really obscure and really esoteric. And so like no one had any idea what it meant. And like you were talking about like the Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao 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 one. That's like, yes, apparently an anti-fascist song. Right. And it was used in some TV show, but it's also used in a game. And so like he's written that on there to be anti-fascist. For some reason, he's referencing something in popular culture there. We're not sure. There's another reference in there, which is the one that you read out before, which is just like, if you're reading this, you are gay, LMAO. So, and that's literally just a troll online, like a troll line online. Like, haha, you read this, you're gay. Like, that's it. That's as far as it goes, really.
Well, that would actually, that's very dated. I feel like
it's dated as hell, right?
Like, that's something that would have happened in maybe the late 90s.
Yeah. It's like 90s gay, right? Like, and then like another one was the arrow thing. So the arrow thing was like, it was left arrow, up arrow, down, 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 which is how you call in an airstrike, like a bomb strike in support in Helldivers 2, which is like a game which is about like, it's a game version of Starship Troopers. So if you know that movie, that movie was like a setup of like a fascist kind of future, a fascist kind of like future culture that fights space bugs and stuff like that. And so like there's a lot of these fascist kind of references in this work. And the other one was this OWO like sees bulge kind of thing, and that's a reference to trolling furry culture. So if you know what furry culture is, like people that dress up as animals, like anthropomorphic like animals, and like you know, date each other and stuff like that. And so like he was trolling furries by writing this. Like, what the does that got to do with like Charlie Kirk? Like any of this stuff? What has it got to do with like the left or the right? Like some of those references there.
But not only that, there was also the fact that this Groypers group that apparently he was part of, is they thought that Charlie Kirk wasn't conservative enough.
Right. So the particular about that is, just before you go on, the particular about that is that there is like posts and like pictures of him on social media, like replicating Groyper memes. So there's a groyper meme of like the Pepe frog meme, if you're familiar with that one. But like there's a very particular variant of it, and Pepe's like wearing like Adidas, and he's like decked out in his best Adidas gear, and he's like crouching, like being fully sick. And the suspect, Tyler Robinson, like is posing like a Pepe the Frog, like, and doing the meme. And that's like a groyper meme reference. And a groyper is someone that is a follower of Nick Fuentes. That's what, yeah. And so that's where it's not the gun engravings, but it's the culture. It's the Fuentes culture.
Okay, I've heard this name so many times. Who the hell is Nick Fuentes?
Okay, so like, I had to research this, and so like, there's people in like in the streams and stuff that have been talking about him. So he is like, I think they've referred to him as the alt right as opposed to the hard right. So like with your Milos of the world, and things like that. And so like, but like he positions himself, Nick Fuentes, as like more hardcore than Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is conservative, and like pretty conservative on a lot of issues, I guess you would say, like, abortions, gun control, like all that sort of stuff. But like this guy doesn't think that Charlie Kirk goes far enough with certain things. Right. And like he definitely doesn't think as a result of that, then like Trump goes far enough with certain things. Like Trump should have fixed the economy by now and got rid of all of the immigrants, like kind of thing. And like this Nick Fuentes like talks very openly about like what he thinks about like black people and stuff like that. Like nobody wants to live near a black person. Like he doesn't think about like racial purity and like hating all black people, but like no one wants to live near blacks, for instance. So he's like casually racist as hell and just says like, who the hell wants to live near black people? Like things like that. Like he warps the conversation and makes it like more palatable to people that have tendencies for that type of stuff anyway by like certain forms of argumentation. But anyway, like one of his defining features is there was a moment called the Groyper Wars in 2019 where so what the hell is this? Yeah, so the Groyper Wars is like he basically convinced his supporters, like Nick Fuentes convinced the Groypers out there that like Charlie Kirk and people like Charlie Kirk were not hardcore enough, and so they should go out and troll them. So this was like right-wing factional warfare. And
so is this where the cuck-servatives thing comes from?
I think so, yes.
Right,
yes. They're cuck-servatives because like they're open to certain like progressive issues, I guess you would say, and they ally with progressives and stuff like that, where they shouldn't be. They shouldn't go down that path. And so anyway, they used to like rock up to Charlie Kirk events and troll Kirk and stuff like that, and like say off-putting things, like hardcore off-putting things to like even throw him off. So he'd have to take a position and be like, no, that's pretty fucked up. Like that's enough. You can't go there. And then they'd be like, see, he's not hardcore enough. He doesn't believe in this. He doesn't believe in that. So like this is like Tyler Robinson was referencing Groyper culture. So like the argument is that like he was engulfed or engrossed in this version or this variant of right-wing culture. So like it's all the culture wars. It's even culture wars on the right, and it's meme culture that has perpetuated this. And like I just want to like frame it this way because I've been speaking about this a lot in my stream about this issue. This was a young man, okay, who like, let's just look at the evidence here. Let's forget about like the left and right infighting on this one. Sorry, left and right, not infighting. The left and right fighting, the culture wars on this one. Because the culture wars at the moment is like the left is like, he was right wing, gotcha. And like the right is just like, this, the shooter was obviously a left wing, nutbag of some sort. And so they're both claiming that it's the other side. And like, some have better claim than others, but like they're both yelling across the aisle saying it was your tribe, not ours. But like, let's just look at the evidence here. We've got the bullet casings and we can see what it is. It's something that is covered in internet culture, meme culture references that is so obscure that no one was able to actually decipher what they meant until they went into the deep darks, chasms of the internet like I said, like subreddits and stuff like that to figure out what this was they were going on, this stuff meant. And so this is from someone who potentially is chronically online. They don't touch grass. They don't go out and get reality checked by other people. They live in some echo chamber all the time. All the time. And they're part of, Discord communities or servers and like group chats where they speak to certain people. And it's likely that given the amount of meme culture that was littered all over the murder weapon, and given the nature of the descriptions that we've heard about this person, we've heard their like people that they went to school with, we've heard their own family describe them, and they're just like, he was quiet, he was shy, he was someone that was online all the time, he was someone that hardly spoke about politics, and then all of a sudden he's gone out, inscribed all of this random meme culture all over this stuff with the murder weapon, and then gone out and shot a political figure, and then walked home and pretended like it never happened.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these political assassinations, people have like full manifestos and like all these political demands, basically. And he's just like inscribed some meme culture on some shit, walked out, killed Charlie Kirk, gone home, and then like spoke to people about it online.
Yeah.
Like he just literally, that's what he did. He was like there a couple of hours later speaking to people online about it. And like people were joking to him about it. Like, we're like, hey, if the shooter kind of looks like you, was it you? Like kind of thing. And he's just like, haha, it's my doppelganger kind of thing. Like, and just continuing his online existence.
Yeah.
And so I think, to be honest, if we're going to just look at what we can tell from this situation, while the left and the right play culture wars on this one, the material reality is that we've got a young person who has been radicalized online, or like at least turned to some form of extremism online because of their chronic online behaviors. They live in another fucking world for us. They live in a digital world, in a digital echo chamber somewhere, where he may have just thought to himself, hey, I could become a meme from this. Like, people might start talking about this, and then I'll just be in the background and be like, hey, these memes are about me. Or like, people in this community might recognize that someone here did this, and people might, give me street cred and clout for this. It might have just been that. Like, it really could just boil down to someone trying to get kudos with their random online buddies.
Yeah, but this kind of brings me back.
That's crazy.
But yes, but then this kind of brings us full circle with, I guess, gun laws and that sort of thing. Or whether I say the lack of gun laws, is that, I can only speak of Australian culture, and the fact is, I'm not saying that, stabbings don't happen here in Australia, or any sort of violence. Like, you just have to turn on the news and, some things happen where there's been a fatal crash or there's been a stabbing and that sort of thing. But it's taking another tool away that can be used against someone. There's not mass shootings that happen here in Australia, and I'm kind of glad that doesn't happen here in Australia. And it just, I understand it's part of their culture and all of that. It's just, there's a price you pay for that. And
that's what he said. He said it. He said that there's a fucking price that you pay for being in a culture where we have guns to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government. And this is the price that we pay, is that, like, every now and again, someone gets disgruntled and shoots someone else. And, like, that's a defining part of the culture wars, actually, is, like, what your level, your threshold of acceptance is when it comes to how many people should be dying or not. It's not a question of whether one death is okay. or death is okay, like flat. It's like, what level of death are you going to be able to live with? It's like, it's kind of not even an area for discussion to consider a world where that wouldn't be a factor that you have to consider. And like, that's alien to, I think, to a lot of other cultures around the world. Like,
Yeah.
we had a look, and like other countries that are developed and like have gun laws and stuff like that, like
Mm.
America really outstrips the next closest competitor when it comes to like how easy and relaxed they are with guns. Like, the next two countries that are close to America with being like relaxed with gun laws is
Mm.
Serbia, Switzerland, and that's in like a European context. And then outside that, you have Yemen. Now, Yemen is like, you know, it's kind of a war zone in the
Yeah.
Middle East, right? And so like, they
Yeah.
have a lot of guns, and so they do have gun violence, and they have more relaxed gun controls like America, but no, not even as relaxed as America. And it's like a fucking war zone. And Serbia in the 90s at war. And so like, there's
Mm.
guns everywhere because like there is still militia, like like paramilitaries around, because they were at war, like, 30
Mm.
years ago. And so they have pretty relaxed gun laws. Switzerland, relaxed gun laws as well. Nowhere near, again, as relaxed as the Americans, but like pretty relaxed by the rest of the world standards. And like, they
Mm.
all have significantly lower by a factor of 5 or 10, significantly
Mm.
lower homicide rates via firearm than the United
Yeah.
States. Yemen, Serbia, massively lower. Switzerland, heaps lower than the United
Yeah.
States. And so the culture isn't just the fact that, I guess, they like to have guns, because there are other people that like to have guns too. The culture is also, it would seem, what's acceptable to do with those guns. And I think that's a big
Yeah.
factor, because if like other people have guns and like relaxed standards, but they don't go around just shooting everyone up, then like, what's the difference there? The difference is like, gun violence itself is more culturally, I guess, prolific, if not acceptable. It's just like, people just will turn to their guns to resolve their
Mm.
issues, it would seem, in the United States. And maybe that was what was going on with this Tyler Robinson. He, like, there was like, if you've looked at the pictures that have come out about him,
Mm.
like, as a little kid, you see him holding guns, like as a little kid. And then as
Mm.
an adult, you see him holding some very impressive weaponry as well. And so like, it was a cultural response for him just to be like, you know what, maybe I'll just, like, Charlie Kirk's coming to town. Maybe I'll have a crack. And that's it.
Well, yeah, and maybe see, this is the thing. Like, even though there is that cultural difference, like when you actually do look at the Second Amendment and the reason why it existed, like, sure, if it was closer to its original setup, as in, hey, an opposing force from outside is coming to get us, we should, our militia should have the guns in order to defend itself. Like, sure, that's an honorable thing, like to protect your families and to protect the people that are around you. Like, I can understand the spirit of that,
Mm.
but I think you do raise a good point that if it's divulged into something where there's an acceptable level of violence, like, oh, somebody was angry and they just went to the like, I'm generalizing, but they were angry and they just went to the local school and they thought they would just take it out on the kids.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I like,
Like,
come
that's
on.
like almost normalized.
Yeah.
Like, in
Like,
like a lot of other cultures, I don't think, around the world, would be like, when someone gets angry, like a disgruntled teenager. Like, think about how many fucking disgruntled teenagers there are. Like, have you ever met teenagers? They're
yeah.
like, they're always disgruntled. They're always like trying to figure themselves out, kind of thing. Like, they've got a lot of fucking problems. They're teenagers. So like, imagine if instead of like a teenager, like a lot of teenagers, for instance, will do things like to express their dissatisfaction or how upset they are. They'll like rebel against their parents, or they'll like, they'll run away from home, or they'll, like, I don't know, self-harm or something like that. But imagine, like, if an option was also go and shoot up your local school. Like,
Yeah.
imagine if that was on the cards every time a teenager got pissed off. That's pretty. That's huge. Those are
Yeah.
massive ramifications, and like that's just, I guess, a cultural difference, and it has expressed itself in this situation
Mm.
through a young person who has, like, obviously been exposed to this culture for long enough, but now the problem is with a person like Charlie Kirk, and like we have to bring this topic back, I think, at this point, is it's resulted in a situation of martyrdom.
Yes.
And so, like, it's going to be used to justify other and potentially worse crimes,
Yeah.
I would say. Like crimes against humanity kind of stuff. Like, not crimes against
Yeah.
individuals, but like crimes against humanity. Because, like, I've already seen instances where, like, there have been, like, Charlie was obviously very vocal about, migration. And like,
Mm-mm.
he's like, deport them, deport every one of them, round up as many illegals as you can, deport them straight away. Even if they're not really illegals, if they've come here and like they don't have the right paperwork or something like that, fucking deport them, like get rid of them. And so, like, there's been a lot of like migrants and people from migrant stock who've just been like sucked in, and have celebrated, let's say, to a certain extent, reveled, let's say, in the fact that Charlie Kirk isn't around to stoke the culture wars anymore, and like be the reason why a lot of these people are getting deported, because he's been
Mm.
stoking the flames of deportation for a long time.
Yeah.
And so, like, how many people, I've heard people say this, like right wing people, I guess you would say, but like influential right wing
Yeah. Yeah.
persons, like political figures, who are just like, all of these people that are celebrating, all these illegal immigrants out there that think they should celebrate because Charlie Kirk isn't here to talk about deportation anymore. We're coming after you first, like, kind of
Well,
thing.
but see,
We're coming to get you because we know that you're celebrating this. We're coming to get you. Your days are numbered, kind of thing.
yeah, like I'm gonna have to look into this more, and I don't know the timing of this, but I swear around this Charlie Kirk incident as well, I think there was like some commentator that on Fox News that I think the topic must have been about homeless people in and around America, and I'm pretty confident whoever the Fox commentator was like, oh, we should just round them up, put a lethal injection with them, and then just solve the problem.
Yeah,
But like,
yeah, yeah.
but like, in light of Charlie Kirk's death, people are becoming a lot more emboldened to say things that are very much outside of the Overton window.
Yeah, 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 and that's a result of this. You'll start to see more of this. I think. I think we'll start to see more of this type of, yes, emboldened discussion about, like, the final solution, as I was calling it before, the Trumpian final solution, like what needs to be done to really make America great again. It's not just tariffs, but it's like, how do we cleanse American culture, if you know what I mean? And like, we will start with the left wing criminals, the hard left lunatics out there. We'll start by cleansing them, and by the immigrants, and then it'll be like, people of color that have gotten away with murder through DEI and affirmative action and like all this sort of stuff, and then everyone else that comes under this umbrella that isn't in the in crowd, which is like a very
Do,
important part of fascist uprising, if you know what I mean.
okay, big boy time here, Mystery.
Yeah.
Do you predict, say, in the next couple of years, there could be a civil war in America?
I don't think it's going to come down to a civil war for us. There's a lot of people
Oh
that
yeah,
kind of, yeah, predict this type of thing. I don't even think there will have to be a civil war. There wasn't a civil war in Nazi Germany. There was no civil war
right.
in Mussolini's Italy.
Yeah,
They took power, and like they did it, like it's like the analogy of like, if you want to kill a frog, you don't put them in boiling water. You put them in a pot and you bring it to the boil.
Mm.
and they don't know what's going on. So, like, that's the situation here. Like, Trump, like, that's why I explained the list of things that Trump is doing. These are incremental things. Like, you know, if he had, like, on day dot, just marched the troops on everyone, started rounding up migrants, attacked the university system, attacked the legal system, attacked the media, all from day one, no one would have fucking accepted that. But, like, he's going through and doing that. And I think the creme de la creme for me, for us, is this. Trump is trying to investigate how to extend his presidency. He wants to serve a third term, or he wants to become a president indefinitely. Indefinitely.
Yeah.
If he figures that out, don't worry about civil war. He'll have troops all over the states. He'll have wars on the home front in the Caribbean Sea. And like he'll be able to use that as justification to clamp down on any opposition, the free press, free academia, all of the institutions he's already clamped down on already. And like it'll just kind of happen. His paramilitary troops, he like the new guard, Kirk's soldiers, the paramilitary or whatever will march on Washington DC in a January 6 2.0, and like he'll be like they'll what they'll do is they'll claim a state of emergency of some sort. They've already claimed that they are under invasion already by the waves of illegal immigrants. If they actually get that status of under invasion, classified as at war, then he can bring in emergency powers, like a Senator Palpatine style moment,
Right.
and just take over anyway. I don't. To be honest, I don't think there will need to be a civil war, if you know what I'm saying.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Well, maybe I'm mistaken then. But with that, I thought this was a pretty good conversation. And of course, like always, the very last segment. What's that synthwave art? So, do you want to have a crack at this one?
Yeah, that's synthwave Charlie Kirk cooking up the culture wars.
Very close. I said stirring the pot with the culture wars.
Stirring the pot, of course. Of course, I was so close.
Yeah, you were actually really close. It was stirring the pot. So
Stirring the pot with the culture wars. That's so good. Very nice. Good work for us.
And thank you everyone for tuning in today. And remember to keep thinking and keep learning. And to sign us out, I give it to you, Mystery.
Thank you very much for us. And to all of you out there, please remember, I am, you are, we are a mystery.